Victorious is getting a spin-off called Hollywood Arts. There are some details around this spin-off that make me think this could be a real success, even more so than the other recent spin-offs. Let's go over the details and talk a little bit more about the history as well as the future of this classic show that so many of us grew up with. For those of you who don't know, Victorious had a 4-season run from 2010 to 2013 and was a show about high school performing arts students in LA. It came at the end of that golden generation of teen sitcoms from Nickelodeon, with Dan Schneider as the creator, who is now, of course, in the news for the not-so-good reasons. The show revolved around a group of friends and the daily craziness that is a school for those getting into showbiz. Victorious was the springboard for the careers of big superstars like Victoria Justice, Ariana Grande, Liz Gillies, Evan Jogia, amongst others. At its core, it was a hangout sitcom geared towards older kids and teens with a big focus on music. I think the show released around 30 or 40 original tracks, some of which have tens of millions of plays. The show ended abruptly and somewhat surprisingly without a finale or anything. There were many rumors about why this was, nothing final, but some talked about beef in the cast, some were about the stars' music careers taking off, but regardless, it was really one of the only shows in the successful time that never got a culmination or finale. The cast has expressed that they would, or at least would like, to close the chapter that they are so fond of and appreciative of, and I'm 99% some of our main stars will make a reappearance. For example, Matt Bennett, who has been so key to the show's longevity. Another fact to this is not the first Victorious spin-off. Sam & Cat had a 1-season run following the success of both iCarly and Victorious, and it went well, kinda, not really. That's a video in itself, but it's worth noting that this is not really untreaded territory. Again, lots of rumors of why it ended so abruptly, but I feel like Ariana's music career just exploded and that was that. So, what do we know now about this spin-off? Well, Daniela Monet is coming back to reprise her role as Trina Vega, the loud, untalented of the two Vega sisters, and here's what we know from Netflix, who has teased a bit of the plot. Trina is back at Hollywood Arts High School, and this time she's stepping behind the desk. The struggling performer finds herself filling in as a substitute teacher at the prestigious school, where she surprises herself by inspiring a group of ambitious teens. Another description goes, Daniela Monet, who starred as Trina Vega during the show's 4-season run, will reprise her role as an inspiring actor who still hasn't gotten her big break. Hijinks ensue when she returns to her alma mater to teach a whole new generation of performing arts students. This does seem like the most obvious way to continue the show. Trina was always the least talented in the bunch, and it will be interesting to see her growth into teaching new teens how to perform, but hard to compare her to Psychoids. More good news, Yvette Nicole Brown will be making a guest appearance. She is famous as Helen in the Nickelodeon universe in both Drake and Josh and in Victorious, where she played a pivotal role in one of the episodes as the principal, so that should be fun. Also worth noting as a return, Jake Farrow, who was a producer for the original show, and similar shows like iCarly. The most important factor I see for this show's success is that it reaches its old audience. We recently had the iCarly revival, which did pretty good. The quality was picking up before getting cancelled, but it was on Paramount+, which I think in the end just didn't get enough of its original viewers in. However, this Victorious spin-off is a Netflix production, which is a whole different ballgame, and certainly reaches just about the maximum amount of people possible if you are launching on one platform, especially for the younger generations. So it's going to get the spotlight needed. Now it just needs to back it up with quality. From what we know, it seems the only returning original cast member is Daniela Monet, and that's great, but it won't really turn heads. If we had the likes of Ariana Grande, Victoria Justice, or Elizabeth Gillies returning to the show, it would market itself, even if it wasn't that good. With that being said, being on Netflix, you're halfway there. Now you have to back it up with quality, and you also need to find a way to reinterest your old audience, which are somewhere in their 20s-ish. I think the iCarly revival, which was unfortunately cancelled after 3 seasons, did some things right, but at the same time it really struggled finding that middle ground between your old and new audience. In attempting this, sometimes it felt like they went too far, and made the characters lose some of their warmth and authenticity. The show also had a really slow start, with the first season being by far its worst. However, and even more importantly, there was still that spark in the characters, and that delivered some truly special moments. iCarly did also have more returning cast members, which certainly helped, but they were not on Netflix. Also, to further drive the point about quality and spark being important, Zoey 101, a show of the same era and creator, did a Zoey 102 revival movie, a reunion type thing, and I can safely say that it was a flop, at least commercially. For me, it was still fun to see the old characters, but it was executed quite poorly, and it did not carry much of the energy from the original. I think the bigger picture here is if Hollywood Arts does well, it could signal a new wave of Nickelodeon nostalgia revivals done right. Imagine a future where they revisit Drake and Josh in a more grounded way, or even Ned's Declassified gets a proper continuation that the fans have been asking for. It could even push Nickelodeon to re-embrace scripted teen content, something they've almost entirely abandoned over the last decade. Right now, the network focuses on more animation and preschool shows, but the nostalgia wave shows there's a huge appetite for live-action, character-driven series. If Hollywood Arts lands, it might not just revive a show, it could revive a whole genre. And what's unique here is that Victorious represents a kind of crossover appeal. It's Nickelodeon's music-driven answer to Glee or Hannah Montana, and that formula hasn't really been replicated successfully since. So if Netflix plays it right, Hollywood Arts could fill a gap that modern teen shows haven't, something light, aspirational, but still self-aware. The key difference is tone. Shows like Euphoria and Riverdale went all in on darkness and drama. This spin-off has the real opportunity to bring back that optimistic, slightly weird, fun energy that defined Nickelodeon in its prime. And if it leans into that, nostalgia and humor, it could stand out in today's landscape. Ultimately, I'm excited to see what this project will look like, and I hope it's a hit. Victorious was a cultural monster and gave many stars their launchpad, somewhat ironically to what the whole show was about. I often think about this era of teen TV on Nickelodeon and how many of us grew up with it and how much it's shaped who we are today. So I'm all for these revivals, no matter how good or bad they might be. That's it for this video. We'll be following the developments for this show really closely, and we can have some fun perhaps with some prediction videos. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and let me know what you think of this spin-off in the comments below. See you soon in the next video.